Hello everyone, welcome to Roto-Moulding Leadership. Savikar, Namaskar. Welcome you all for this special program focusing on the leadership related to Roto-Moulding. This is basically a dialogue with rotational molding business leaders. You can call it as a mini MBA class today. So I'm hoping you find it useful. And today we are on the episode number 3. We are having a dialogue with Gary Lategan, and he's the owner of the Roto Solutions based in South Africa. So let me brief you, about the Techno Base. As you know, this program is owned and managed by Techno Base. I wanted to introduce to you what is Techno Base, if you're not familiar with Techno Base, and what kind of services we offer for the roto-molding industry. A short presentation for you to understand. We are based in Thailand and established in 2005. We recognize as an international resource center for the industries and the technologies. Our main pillars is focusing on the professional education and then business services. Our services are pretty much global, and we have a broad spectrum of the services. We organize exhibitions, we have training and conferences, we have webinars, business networks and publications, knowledge tests, and also the marketing assistance and consulting and also new service various aspects. And when it comes to the business focus, we have broad, again, industry spectrum, but mainly the polymer industry. We cover on rubber, plastics, polyurethane, and also the process technologies focusing on energy, environment, water and membrane technologies, and etc. So this is a broader focus on the business point of view, what industries we cover. Let's get to the, what we offer for the roto-molding industry, businesses as well as the professionals. When it comes to the exhibition, we're organizing the Roto-Molding Trade Expo, which is like a boutique exhibition with a small size, and we plan to organize during the 29th to 31st March 2023 in Bangkok. Welcome you all, and of course they have a exhibition is there. We are also covering the conference, and also we have the networking dinner as well. Okay, so in that as a part of this exhibition. And again, it's the 29th to 31st March next year. And we have options of these booths, 3x3 or 3x6 booths on there. And we have a professional education segment, which we are offering the Roto-Molding Masterclass with Martin Spencer. As one thing many of you know, Martin is a well-experienced Roto-Molding specialist. He's offering a 2-day program, 10 modules, focusing on both technology aspects and a practice covering all issues from the principles to the operations, design of the molds and advanced level. So it's good for every level of roto-molding professionals. So, and first this edition will be on this is an online program, 18th to 9th October. This is scheduled, and so if you're interested, you can check our website, know-how-webinars. Okay. And we have other called business forum, a Roto-Molding business forum. This is basically an online forum for the focusing on the technology as well as market developments. All the delegates who wants to join this one, they can register free. And we are actually, the frequency of this event is 2 times per year. The upcoming one will be scheduled in June, and the other one is in December. These are schedules. Edition number 2 is 8th June, and edition number 3 is 7th December in this year. We have a sponsorship-based options out there where the company's technology supplier can make a presentations on the new developments on them. We'd like to introduce to you about upcoming in the next month itself, on the 8th June. We're pleased to say, various sponsors there. Thank you all of them for part of this business forum. Matrix Polymers, PSI Brand, Rising Sun, Roto-Molding Machinery, Persico. So thank you all for supporting this second edition. I'll give you some idea about what kind of topics being presented, how to brand plastics with confidence by Jim and Steve from PSI Brand, and aesthetic mold design and techniques for roto molders by Sharon from the Rising Sun Roto-Molding Machinery, And we have advanced high performance rotomolding materials for the agriculture and the chemical industry although from the matrix polymers. But along with that one, we also have a detailed discussion session, and we're covering which are relevant to the industry, and a lot of, all the sponsors as well as some other invited specialists also with part of as panelists. We're covering various issues related to the rotomolding industry. This is you get a complete useful information on what is happening in the rotomolding in this session. So I welcome you all to be part of this one. Those who've been following our programs, they don't need to register again, but if you are never joined before, so you have to register. Okay. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all on 8th June. Okay, 3 p.m. Thailand time, that is the basis. Okay. And we have this leadership, like today, all of you joining. Leadership is focusing on, business and management practices of running the rotomolding industry, or whether it's a molder or other related business. So we'll be having a discussion with the business leaders. So far, we have done, well recognized, well experienced, eminent persons, Mr. Zelal Baisel, Mr. Bill Spensley from Canada, and today we have with Gary Lategan from South Africa. There will be more. I think Mr. Martin will be introducing those later on. And we are also introducing the other segment called Roto-Moulding research. This is basically focus on what kind of research is happening in the creative roto-molding industry. So we plan to have this program. It's online again, and probably quarterly. So we're hoping to organize the first one in September. Okay, and we'll keep you updated on that. So you get now opportunity to learn about research developments in the roto-molding. Other services which we offer is integrated marketing and branding assistance. If somebody is looking for assistance, brand your company or products, introducing products, or even if you want us to organize customized events for you to develop your business, we offer this service as well. And all this leadership or many of the programs, it's we're making them available on YouTube at our Techno Base channel. So feel free to check our video platform whenever it's convenient for you. Okay? And any assistance you need, okay, and you always know how to contact me. I think most of you have the information on me, my contact information. Please reach out to me. Okay, that's the briefly about what is Techno Base, and I'm hoping that you get a clear idea what we are offering for the rotomolding industry. And you all can always check our website, technobase.org. Okay. So let's get to today's session, and I'd like to introduce our host, Mr. Martin Spencer. As many of you know, Martin is a manager of Unique Roto. He's been in the rotomolding industry for more than 30 years, and he has a worldwide reputation for innovations. Currently, he's a managing director of the Unique Roto Consulting, which is offering consulting for rotomolders in the design, development, tooling, manufacturing, operations, and training. He was also the managing director of Rototech for 22 years before, okay, and he was a chairman of ARMO, affiliation of rotomolding organization, during 2016 to 2018 for 2 years. And he was the chairman of Rotomolding Group at British Plastic Federation during 2006 to 2011 for 5 years. So as you see, Martin is the right person to host this event. Martin, it's all yours now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our third leadership session. In these discussions, we look at how our subjects have entered the industry, the problems they've encountered, their successes, and their thoughts for the future. We hope this will give an overall picture of the rotomolding industry for our participants, both those that are new to the sector, but also give insight and ideas to those that are already involved in the industry. Today, I would like to introduce Gary Lategan from Roto Solutions South Africa. Gary started a rotomolding business in South Africa during the period of sanctions, so supply of machines and materials was very restricted. He went on to grow this molding business before leaving to become a consultant. Working as a consultant, Gary has become known across the globe as an industry expert with forthright views on our industry and our processing. Welcome, Gary. Please join us.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you
Right.
again.
Yeah. Tell us a little about the services, briefly about the services you offer at the moment and your current business, please.
Okay, before I go on to that, I'd just like to say thanks to you and Piran for organizing all of these amazing things and for the invite for myself today. And I wish you all the best for the future. I think that's an awesome idea and continue forward. Thank you. Right, Martin, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, a little bit about our services, etc. worldwide. Temp logger is what I'm really known for in the world. I developed that after buying a Roto-Log and carrying on to try and push it into production, and I couldn't get into production, so Roy Crawford said to me, build your own. If you can get into production, do it. So that is my flagship and what we're really well known for in the world. We have a couple of other interesting products like Roto Release, which was a world first, and still I think there are 1 or 2 guys now following suit and offering similar services. It's I don't know why I called it Roto Release, because it's actually should have been called Roto-Moulding. In South Africa, Muti means magic medicine, because it is a magic medicine for Rotomolding. It does release, but it does about 10 other things, and it gives thousands of releases, unlike normal roto releases or roto molding releases. It's not wiped onto the mold, it's added to the polymer, so that's also different and unique. We could get into that later if we've got time, but consulting is the third, and probably something I never thought I'd ever be doing, to be honest, because at school I turned down some opportunities in life to travel, but I had to make speeches in front of people, and I said I don't want to talk in front of people. And I think most people who know me today find that hard to believe, because they can't shut me up nowadays. Anyway, so consulting became a big part of my life after Roy Crawford had convinced me to sell temp logger to a lot of clients around the world and travel and sell it. But most people said, but you tell us what you can do with temp logger, but we can't do it. So I ended up having to visit them and actually show them what we did and how we did it. And that's how consulting was born, and started sharing my ideas on how we use temperature monitoring to go forward. And we eventually became known as the one-stop shop. You could come to us with any problem and we would solve it for you. I think, Martin, you sort of in that boat today yourself. Guys come to you and ask you for help, and we can offer them the service. And virtually right from design, yeah, wanting to go into the industry, should you come into the industry, have you got a rotomolded product? Then we help them design it properly, and then the molds, and then the machine. And then we go as far as to say we actually design the material, because you can customize materials. So yes, you and myself have got a pretty similar history in rotomolding, and now both being consultants. So yeah, as I said, one day I'll probably have to interview you. Anyway, but so then
tell
yes?
us a little bit about how you started, why you came into the rotomolding industry. Did you choose it deliberately, or do you think it chose you and you fell into it?
Yep. Can I just go back one step, okay, to your first question? One little thing I just want to say that I'm involved in, it's not and I sell it, is Armo dry flow funnel. Okay, and the reason I just want to bring this up, Martin, is because I think every single rotomold in the world should have it. I don't make money out of it, it's a service. And we're all about powder, and I'm passionate about powder, and I think you are, and a few of us are. And I think people should all know about the Armo dry flow funnel. So I'd just like to cover that one. And then we have other services, but we'll skip that for now. Yes, Rotomolding chose me, Martin. My dad was having plastic components made when I was at school and at university, and I used to sit in the garage and help him assemble these what we called loaders in those days. It was a thing that pumped explosives into holes and things. And when I sat with him and the gardener we had, and we assembled these things, and I realized this was steel and heavy, I said, why don't we have it made in plastics? And then he went on and he found a guy who could make it in plastic. But then as I moved on into university and that, he went overseas to the 1976 Montreal Olympics. And while he was there, he saw some products that were pretty similar to what we wanted, shape-wise, not the product. And he started questioning how these were made and that, and he found out there was a process called Roto-Moulding. And we thought that the guy who was making our plastics parts was Roto-Moulding, but he was actually spinning plastic and then working it and fusing it and doing all sorts of other things and getting a part that looked like a Roto-Molded part. So I said, well, why don't we try this Roto-Moulding story? And my dad came home with this McNeil picture. In those days, we never had internet and stuff, and he had a one-page brochure with a McNeil machine on it. And for those who don't know, McNeil machine, it was used to make tires. And slush molding in the early days became one of the first roto-molding machines. And they actually ran the machine with tires instead of gears to mold. And I just found this fascinating. So I started studying it and looking at it while I was at varsity. And then I said to my dad, I think I could build a machine that we could do something similar, but much cheaper and easier. And he gave me 2,000 Rand. And for those of you like in British pounds today, that's about 100 Rand, 100 pounds, sorry, or 300 euros, somewhere in that vicinity. It was nothing. But in those days, I built a little hand machine and we started molding. And so, yes, Roto-Moulding chose me in that sense. I was actually studying to be a building scientist of all things, nothing to do with plastics. And my dad actually got into a bit of trouble because some of his managers, one manager unfortunately shot himself, committed suicide, and one of his other managers ran off after a girlfriend, and he's asked me to come and help him to run the factories, the business. And when I got there, I said, on a condition, we actually start doing plastics. And yeah, so Roto found me. I didn't find Roto. I didn't even know what Roto was, to be honest, and had to find out what it was. Yeah.
In the early years of your business in South Africa, it was during the apartheid era, so you were subject to sanctions and couldn't really easily buy equipment and materials from abroad. So you had to make things for yourself. Is that correct?
100% correct, Martin. I hated apartheid. We were never, our family was always totally open. In fact, we started all the progressiveness in our factory and around our area, but it did affect us badly because I'd go overseas, like my dad went over and saw a brochure, but I'll never forget, and I won't mention the name because they came back to me years later and I said to them, I don't want to deal with you, but I phoned guys for help overseas for materials and machines and things, and they just said, sorry. In fact, one guy was so rude, he just put the phone down when I said South Africa. That was the reception we got overseas. So and in South Africa, when we started, there wasn't even a real roto-molding grade. There was an LDPE, not even a linear low density polyethylene. And it didn't have enough antioxidants in it, didn't have enough UV stabilization in it. So we tried to mold injection molded grades. And of course, as most of you know, injection molding grades started very low MFIs, coming up to the 3 MFIs that we started molding at. So in the early days, we were actually molding products out of 1,8 MFI. But we made parts. They weren't very good. But we soon learned to build our own equipment and build our own roto-molding machines. And then I found out, but the powder, I now got a little machine that I had built, but now I needed powder, and we couldn't get powder. But fortunately, in the early days in South Africa, Sasol today used to be Polyfin, and before that they were ACI. And ACI is an explosive company, which we did a lot of work with. So we had a lot of contacts there, and I went and visited them. And they have reactor material. Now, not many people today even know what reactor material is, but we bought material direct from the reactor, which is in a granular form. It's not a pellet. So we took that and we actually crushed it with the hammers. And we built a hammer mill to spin at high speed to actually crush this. And then we dry blended our additives like antioxidants and all the necessary things into it. And so we formulated our own raw material. So this is why, and where I come from a different angle to most molders in the world today, we had to actually design our own polymer. We had to create our own polymer. We had to build the machines to do that. So we ended up building hammer mills. We ended up building extruders to compound properly. So yeah, we built our own first roto-molding machines, extruders, pulverizers, the lot. We couldn't buy anything. So in a way, it was really bad apartheid for us, but it also made me think different. And that's where I come from, a different angle. But yes, it did affect us badly.
Okay. And in hindsight, do you think what you ended up with was as good as what was available elsewhere in the world?
Martin, sometimes I feel, you know what I'd love to say? Of course, yes. I'll be a little bit more blunt, less blunt than that. Yes. And unfortunately, I have to say yes. We built simple, and I do programs today in my consulting called Back to Basics, because I think too many people start with equipment that they don't even know the basics of. So we started basically, I mean, I turned the mold by hand and I rocked the machine by hand. So yeah, I had to learn to do it by hand and then eventually automate it. And when we started automating it, the strangest thing is that I started automating at the speed that I turned by hand. And when I started traveling the world, I found this 4:1 ratio in rock and rolls, which you and myself are both big fans of, the rock and roll machines. I still am today. In fact, I've just commissioned a machine 2 weeks ago, and we're busy doing a full turnkey operation at the moment. It will be commissioned before the end of the month, and they're both rock and rolls, and they're both fantastic rock and rolls, doing triple layers and all sorts of fancy things. But yeah, so I started rocking and rolling, but if you can imagine standing at a machine and trying to turn a mold at 1 revolution per minute or rocket, you'd fall over. Okay, so I was spinning much faster. So when I started building my machines, I timed myself and I thought, okay, I must rock at about 4 per minute and I must roll at about 10 to 12 RPM. And so when I started traveling the world, I actually found out, hang on, I'm far faster than anybody else. And I started querying it. And other things we built, from that McNeil machine, I saw a drop arm and a straight arm, and we developed a triple arm, triple spider, okay, which I've never seen today anywhere in the world still today. Of course, as you know, I went into temperature monitoring in the very early days. With the rock and rolls, it was easy, but then when I started building these I started building shuttle machines. And as most people know in the world today, I'm anti-shuttle machines, but if I think about it and I go back to our shuttle machines, we had three stations. So we always had something in the oven. So our shuttle machines in those days were maybe not as efficient as the shuttle machines and that we've eventually found from the oven point of view and the heat transfer, but we were far ahead of them as far as we had 3 shuttles fed into 1 oven, where everybody else is 2. So yes, we were ahead of people. I think you also know high-speed heating, high-speed cooling, and of course with no water whatsoever. If you touch my molds with water, I would shoot you. In those days, we could probably shoot people still. But yeah, so we started from a totally different angle. Absolutely no mist, no cooling bays, no cooling chambers, high-speed rotomolding. So yes, when I traveled the world, as I say, in the early 80s, we were building triple stages arms and triple spider arms, sorry, and triple stage shuttle machines. So when I traveled the world, I actually thought, hang on, why don't you guys do this? And then I started learning. Obviously, wherever I traveled, I learned, and I saw some amazing things, and I came back and tried them. But yeah, we were not bad. We were not bad.
So as your business was growing in South Africa, what other difficulties did you encounter? Was labor a problem, or buildings, or what other difficulties did you have to overcome?
Well, Martin, again, as I said earlier, I started from a building background, building scientist. So I did my own university practical on building my own factory. I actually dug the foundations, poured the concrete, and built brick on brick. So I built my factory ideally to what I thought was the ideal shape. And so building was not a problem. Lots of land available in South Africa. And we built a very nice, very efficient factory. It still stands today. But the biggest issues was material, as I mentioned earlier. We couldn't actually buy a rotomolding grade with antioxidants, etc., but we overcame that. I worked closely with a guy, Peter Rappard, who's still a good friend of mine. He lives in the UK now, by the way. And he was a Ciba Geigy in those days, and he helped me understand everything about additives. So material was probably our biggest issue. And then obviously not being able to buy anything, we had to overcome it, which I've just explained what we did. And then being where we were in the outlying areas in Klerksdorp, which most people don't even know where it is, still today in South Africa, we had educated labor problems. Okay, so we actually brought a retired minister from the church in, who was always dreamed of being a teacher, and he was a friend of ours. So we just brought him to the factory and we started teaching English and maths, so the guys could count how many products they made and the weight of the polymer. So educated people in our area was a problem, but material was definitely the biggest problem, as I explained earlier.
Yeah, okay. So what business sectors were most successful for you? And generally in South Africa, what business sectors are people being successful in today?
Okay, my dad came from the mining industry. He was a miner his whole life, went up the copper belt. I was born up in Zambia. When he was working on the copper belt, when he came back to South Africa, he wanted to change some heavy parts that were being lugged around underground, as I said earlier, into plastic, and that's where he got into plastic. So mining was my background. I knew mining. I'd been down the mine with my dad hundreds of times as a small kid. So mining, we looked at everything we could do for the mines, because the mines was huge and our biggest income in South Africa. So we started on a very different slant to most rotomolders. We were making pumps for explosives, containers for explosives, safety boxes, a thing we used to call an elephant foot bag where they carried the rubbish back. So mining was definitely, it was actually 100% our focus when we started. And then living in Klerksdorp, we were in the agricultural center around us. So we got into the agriculture, looking at farming implements. People had imported machines, and then when the embargoes came, they couldn't get spare parts, hoppers, and all sorts of things. So we moved into the agricultural center, and eventually we moved into general industry. But 95% of our products were actually our own products. We designed them ourselves and we sold them. We didn't do custom molding. We only had less than 5% was custom molding. So yeah, it was mining, then agriculture, and then eventually general industry. And we became known as the toilet and the poo kings of the world, because we became the biggest supplier of septic tanks and sanitation systems in South Africa, which was a huge, right up until I left the industry, we were producing hundreds of septic tanks a day, hundreds. A few of you know that I used to produce up to 3,500 rotomolded parts every day, every 24 hours. And hundreds of those parts were septic tanks and sanitation equipment. So it became our biggest sector at the end.
What about in South Africa today? What people that are in the rotomolding business, are they in different sectors? I mean, obviously there's a big water tank industry, but what about other sectors that people are in today?
Martin, what we were the leaders, fortunately, because we were the early first ones. We actually started Rotomolding itself, ourselves and probably one other guy. He was a German guy, and there was a Greek guy that was doing some work for my dad that eventually left. And when we started making all our own parts and things. So yeah, it's being the leaders, and then other people came into the industry, but other people did come in. Most people came in water tanks. We know that globally, 80 to 90% of most countries is some form of tank, and mainly water tanks. And still today, water tanks is the biggest market. But in my day, way back, I think it was 1971, I started rotomolding kayaks. And as far as I know, I was the first guy to mold multicolored kayaks. Because when I went to America to learn more about kayaks, they didn't know about this multicolored that we're doing, and they all do it today. And I think there were guys from Norway selling foaming technology. They came to try and sell it to us. And because when they got there, saw we already foaming, they actually gave us our money back. But yeah, there are people moving into those markets, foaming, other industries. but still, I'd say the big market today, everybody wants to make water tanks. And I tell them, if you wanted to make water tanks, you're going to have competition. It's going to make it more cutthroat. And I don't really want to help people go into water tanks. If they come to me and say, I've got a kayak, which we've just done a 7-meter machine for kayaks. Yes, and the kayaks are being exported to Europe. Not one single kayak that's going to be produced on our machine will be sold in South Africa, because it's the high-end market, high quality, 3-layer, and so too expensive for our market, in fact. So yes, I'm proud to say there are some excellent products being made in South Africa and being exported. We moved into oval drums for drums, the market, to compete with blow molding, which we did, and we made a unique product that nobody else could make. But most people still just copy, unfortunately. As I think you know, you go around the world, people see what other people are doing and they copy. Which is sad. More people should invent and produce new products.
I always say you shouldn't copy. You can learn from your competitors, but then improve on what they're doing. Do something different to improve on.
Yeah. When a guy comes to me in South Africa and says, I want to make this part, I say, but that's another person's part you're bringing me. I say, have you got a better idea? Can you make it better? Have you got new improvements? If you haven't, I'm not going to help you. And I'll turn them down, to be honest. Anyway, yes, copying is bad.
Okay, we're both great advocates of the rotomolding process, but how do you sell the rotomolding process? What do you think are its strengths and what are its weaknesses?
Well, as I said earlier, Martin, you, myself, Garth Galloway, and a couple of us are real rock and roll specialists. And I think on a rock and roll machine, we can do more than we can do on the conventional machines. So, and I've definitely developed products that can only be made in rotomolding. And in fact, I've got 1 or 2 products that can only be made in rock and roll. So if you want something unique, if you want something different, and the strengths of rotomolding, use the process, designed correctly for the process. We can offer amazing strength and durable products if we mold them properly. I mean, yes, people can blow mold it cheaper, etc. I've taken on the challenges of porcelain. I've taken on the challenges of stainless steel. I've taken the challenges of all fiberglass. I mean, I rotomold fiberglass, and not many people can do that. We rotomold stone, up to 90% plus stone. So yeah, you can do things. You can't push stone through extruder or blow molder or any other plastics process, but you can throw it in a mold in a rotomolding if you know what you're doing. You wipe your mold out if you don't know what you're doing. So we've done some amazing products. It's not here for me to sit and show products and things, but I have shown them in the world, products that you cannot and will not make in any other process in the world. And some of them only on rock and roll. So I'm a great believer in rotomolding, and I look at the advantages of rotomolding and design products for it. One of the things I've encountered in the world is when material suppliers bring us a beautiful material, something different that we can rotomold. Most people say, oh, but it's too expensive. I think I've always thought different, and I've encouraged people. Don't think it's expensive. Find a product for the material. Don't try and rotomold a water tank out of nylon, for goodness sake, you know, or something. Or take a good material and find a product for it. And we did helicopter, in the early days, we did helicopter tanks and things for we had a Denel, which was top of the class in South Africa, military stuff. So yeah, take the material and find a product. And that way you actually open your world and rotomolding to new possibilities. We won quite a few Product of the Year's awards here in South Africa, and I won an award overseas for prison combo unit we made that no other process could make. So yes, look for things that suit our process and find the material to make it, or find the material and make a new product. There's amazing opportunities and strengths in rotomolding, and I'm sure you agree with everything I'm saying there, by the way. Yeah, because you've done it with your hospital things, and you know, go and find a new market.
Yeah,
get a decent mold.
Fantastic process, and as you say, it's really as good as your imagination, and you've got to think of things you can do with it. So, is your business affected by competition, both local or global? or did, because you were an innovator and pushing forwards, manage to always stay ahead of the competition?
Well, Martin, I feel we were leaders. I never looked back. I never looked to see what the others were doing. The only time I looked around was when I thought somebody might be doing it better than me. Other than that, I just focused on what I wanted to achieve, what I wanted to make. Well, when I say what we wanted to do, what we wanted to make, we had our goals. Our mining products, we were 98% of the market. We took the whole market. So we never even had opposition. There was a small loader imported from Canada that we found occasionally popping up. But we made products that we took the market. Nobody could compete because of Roto-Moulding process, number one, and of high speed. We just, by the way, one of the things in Roto-Moulding, if you want to be competitive and compete with other processes like fiberglass, blow molding, that you have to mold fast. And as anybody who's heard me talk in the world, it's about fast heating, fast cooling, and fast demolding. So yes, through speed, we've been able to compete. And being leaders, yeah, later on in life, people started copying us. And just as a point of interest, when I just started consulting and decided to sell Templogger, I was consulting to 11 rotomolders in South Africa. And one of the things I did say to one or two of them is, let me teach you to copy me properly. Because, you know, if you copy me badly, we all get a bad name. And one of the things I did is, when I was the ARMSA chairman, is I try to get people to up the standards, up the game, okay, and become better. Because what I found, the only way people influenced my life was when I did have one machine that made water tanks, okay. We made a 5,000 liter water tank, and we sometimes made a 2,500, but mainly 5,000. But we were high speed molding. We were doing 72 tanks a day on a rock and roll machine, which most people couldn't do. And we concentrated on single skin with fully compounded, no light penetration, etc. So we created our own market in a water tank. When you say that they influenced me, a guy would come to me and say, I can get water tanks cheaper down the road. I'll say, hang on, whoa. Here's 10 more guys you can go and buy it from. Okay, why not go to all these 10 guys? They can all help you. But when you want a good quality tank, or you want my quality tank, come back to me. So we had that different attitude. You know, we weren't cutting prices and that. When I sold the business, I don't know what happened to it, but when I was there, that was certainly our aim, not to be drawn into price cutting and fighting over the similar products. When we found a product was coming to the end of its life and too many people had started copying it badly, we moved on. We made a new product. So we were developing new products monthly. Yeah. So we stayed ahead of the pack.
Has always really been to go for the niche markets, and you know,
yes.
if there are 10 people making it, then stay clear of that and try and be the only one to start with. And when people copy you, move on, as you'd say.
Yeah, well, that's why I say we've got similar careers, Martin. I mean, I've been to your factory. I know your factory. And what I saw and even when you left the industry, you were still making new products, different products. You're not copying. Yeah, we felt the same. Yeah.
I think I probably know the answer to this next question, but I'll ask.
I know you know the answer. Yeah. Anyway,
which piece of equipment you purchased, or which innovation you made, do you think had the greatest impact on your molding business and your future?
Well, I think on me and the world, okay, was Rotolog. Okay, yeah. There's undoubtedly, it was mind-blowing when I saw a Rotolog for the first time. I saw it in Spain, and I say it was 89. I can't remember. If anybody can really tell me when that first European conference was run by Eric Bush and the Americans in Barcelona. I cannot find the date, but I think it was 1989. I saw a Rotolog for the first time. Roy Crawford brought it there, and Paul was there, and as far as I know, Mark Kearns was there. And I met a lot of people in the industry for the first time. It was my first ever international conference. And I saw this Rotolog, and they explained that it can see what's happening inside the mold. And Roy explained the curve. And of course, I was just besotted with this thing because I've always wanted to know what was happening inside the mold. I'd stand with my torch and I wiped out a few cameras trying to video what happened inside and everything. And then they said, but hang on, there is a way. So of course I went home and I wanted to buy one, but being a British product, you guys are so expensive with everything. It was £8,000 in those days, which cost more than all my machines I had on my floor. So I had a big problem convincing my partners we need to buy one. But cut a long story short, I got a material supply to buy one and bring it into the country. And he said, well, he will take it to all the Roto-Molders and share it. So I said, go for it. And they bought it and they brought it into the country. And of course, nobody else knew what it was and didn't care about it. So they ended up selling it to me. And that changed my life because I tried to turn Rotolog into a production tool because it was so amazing what I could see. I tried to run production. And of course, Roy Crawford said, it's not a production unit, it's a lab unit. You test and set up and take it off. And I said, no. And he gave me permission to build my own. I think he gave one or two of us in the world permission because they had a world patent. And that was the development of Templogger. Now, I might be talking a bit fast, as I said to Perrin earlier. When I get excited, I talk a bit fast, so I'll slow down a little bit. Martin, tell me to slow down. Anyway, but Templogger, Rotolog, undoubtedly the best thing ever. Still today, there's nothing that's beaten it. And that was the birth of Templogger, which is what I'm world famous for now. I'd like to say world famous. I think I'm known in at least 68 to 70 countries and stood on many stages and presented. And I've worked with over 500 rotomolds globally. So it's pretty proven, There are other things that we developed only because we could understand what we are doing. I mean, you know, we could mold things, we could create new polymers, we could test anything, we could test just about anything. No, Rotolog was, yeah, magic. And I know you did it as well.
Yeah.
You had temperature monitoring.
Yeah, we developed our own system specifically for rock and roll from, you know, in conjunction with Roy Crawford from the Rotolog. It's similar to you. We didn't sell ours.
Garth Galloway and other people all did it. Simon Goff down in Australia. Lots of people did it for rock and roll, but not many got it right for carousels. And that's where Rotolog taught us the next step. Because we were doing the old stick the thermometers in the side down a pipe for rock and rolls. But when I saw Rotolog and it could actually run my biaxial machines, it was a game changer. And yeah, fortunately, sadly, Roy's passed away today, but fortunately, we became very good friends. And I visited him just months before he died and passed away. And yeah, he did the world, him and Queen's University and the guys that worked on it, Roy and Paul and I think Mark and a couple of the guys there. It was the best gift to Roto-Moulding. Yeah.
So tell us why you left moulding and became a consultant.
Ditto above, Roy Crawford.
Yeah.
Roy Crawford and myself, as I said, became very good friends. I invited him to South Africa to conferences. He walked into my factory, I think it was 1999, as far as I can find pictures of him first visiting my factory. And he just said to me, Gary, I go around the world and most factories, I see the same thing. He said, you've got this temperature controller under control. You're running your machines biaxial and rock and roll. And you understand the process. You need to share some of your knowledge. And I said, no, it's my secret weapon. You know, let the other guys battle out there. But then he explained to me in 1999, listen, nobody in Australia is going to take anything away from me globally. And I said, no, Roy, you're actually wrong because we're selling to Australia. You chose the wrong country at that stage. But basically he pointed out we need to share knowledge. And I'd been involved with Roto for a while. We've been members of ARM since I think 1992. So it's about 7 years already a member, trying to get information, trying to learn things. And now he's telling me to go and share. So eventually, I think he came back 5 times, as far as I have record of. It might have been more, but he eventually in 2001 convinced me to actually share some of the ideas I had. He had seen granite, he had seen our stone finishes, he had seen us molding stone and foam and all these amazing things. And I said to him, but it was thanks to your Rotolog, which you gave me permission to develop temp logger. And he said, well, now go out and show the world what you've done with this tool. Show the world what we gave you and explain it. And as I think, I don't know if I've said it now, earlier I might have said it, but initially it was just selling temp loggers. And then when people told me, but how do you use it? We can't get the results you're talking about. Roy eventually convinced me in 2001 or 2003, I think, around about there, to actually start traveling. And yeah, so from being banned from the world, all of a sudden I was traveling the world. It was amazing. Temp logger took me around the world, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah. And
okay.
So that's why I became a supplier and a consultant. Yeah.
Okay, so now your favorite subject, really, and mine as well. Just explain the benefits of having comprehensive process control from temperature in rotomolding to us.
Sure. As you said, there's a few of us, quite a few of us today. Fortunately, the gang is getting bigger and bigger globally. And I've got amazing friends around the world through it, and that's temperature monitoring, obviously. But with temperature monitoring, the thing is, we found temperature monitoring had a huge influence on what we did and the understanding. But I'm pretty well known in the world for standing on the stage saying the average rotomolder takes a long time to do nothing or make a bad part, and that's the curves I'm trying to show of the log. They go slowly up to the top, and they don't even get to the right top peak, and they come slowly down, and so they take a long time to make a bad quality part. And what Roy said to me when he introduced me as a guest speaker in 2007, I think it was, in Australia, we did a joint presentation. He said, I'll show you theory, and Gary will show you practical. And I did a whole lot of examples of what you can actually do with these amazing controls. So temperature, we took those curves that I say, and we pushed them, and we pushed them, and we pushed them, and we pushed them, and we pushed them up and up and up to go faster and faster, which of course what Queens was trying to prove all the time theoretically and with their little machines in-house. They gave us graphs, they did presentations, but I actually did them every day, hundreds of graphs, proving what an incredible tool it was. But to go faster, it also taught us, hang on, if you go faster, you have to do everything fast. You can't do one thing fast and the other thing slow. And so we had to learn how to fine-tune the machines. Fortunately, as I told you in the beginning, with my hand-turned machines, we started turning faster than most. So we found it quite easy to adapt. And when I traveled the world and I found out the guys were wanting to learn about temperature monitoring, this amazing tool that we'd been given, they couldn't do it because their machines were too slow. So as they try to speed up and use the benefits of temperature monitoring, they had to change their lives. They had to think differently. And I'll never forget a very good friend of ours, Francesco. I went to his factory and he said, no, never, we can't do that, we can't do that, and it won't be good, it will be a bad quality part if you go that high and if you go that fast. And by the end of the day, he walked in with a white cloth over his arm and served me a beer in the factory and said, you're right, okay, because I showed him how to use temperature monitoring properly, okay, because he was convinced it was a slow process. Yeah, Francesco is a great friend and a great person. I have lost contact, unfortunately, with him recently, so I don't know if he's still around, but yeah, the tool of temperature monitoring is one tool, and it is the exceptional tool. But you have to learn your machine, you have to learn your airflow, you have to learn the direction of your airflow, how fast your airflow is. But all these things can be measured with using a temperature monitor, because you put probes out on the ends of the product, you put them in the places where you're not getting air and you're getting thin spots, and then you turn and tune your machine, and then temperature, while you're processing, it not afterwards, while you're processing, says, oopsie, there's no material there, or it's not working. We've just done this 7.5 meter kayak machine, okay? And we show the guys, we put probes in the end, that they were not getting material at the end. Okay, and the reason was they had such thick flanges and so much steel around the ends, we couldn't get the heat into it. So we opened it up a bit, and all of a sudden, because the graph, for those of you that know the graph, it goes up, and then it goes up as the material sticks. But when the graph just keeps going up at a straight line, it means you've got no powder sticking. And it's amazing to see, and I should share graphs like this with the world, is that while you're molding in the middle, the graph's bending. And towards the, as you go out on the end of this long kayak, the graph bends a bit later and a little bit less. And as you get to the end where there's no material, it's the same mold, the same air inside, we actually got a straight line graph. So we've got 3 different graphs being drawn inside the same machine, inside the same mold at the same time. And it's just amazing what you can see and learn with controls.
It is.
It's mind blowing. It baffles you, me, and a few of us. It baffles you, me, and a few of us that people don't use it and don't want to use it. It's amazing.
Yeah. People don't realize that you can get different temperatures in the same tool at the same time because of that. And also people don't realize that if they're going to heat faster, they've got to turn faster, because you only get a set time to lay up your powder, and the faster you heat, the shorter that time is. So you need to do the same amount of revolutions in that shorter time. So you need to turn faster.
And that brings us to forward reversing faster, half minute, not 5 minutes. I mean, as you say, Martin, we're talking the same language. You and myself know, you've done it, I've done it, we do it, we're trying to teach it. One day the world will all be using the correct tools.
Right.
Our dream, our dream.
As you travel the world and these 500 molders that you've helped, do you see similar approaches to the process around the world and similar problems? Or do you occasionally find somebody that is doing it differently and learn something?
Martin, I'd be an idiot if I didn't learn every day. And as much as I think I know, and I think I'm pretty up there like you guys, you and a few other friends in the industry, we learn every day. Sometimes it's a stupid mistake that guys are making, and you query why they're doing it, and you actually find out, hang on, if we tweak it a little bit, maybe we could find a good result, Go back to this machine I commissioned 2 weeks ago, okay? They did something really stupid to get the material to the end, okay? But it made me think. But at the end of the day, I stopped and said to them, no, actually, you're doing it wrong. But it might have taught me something. I don't just say, no, that's wrong, this is how we do it. So you have to go in every time you're teaching and helping people, you have to go in with the attitude and an open mind that maybe you could learn something from them. And in fact, in my early days, I used to say to guys, if you can't teach me something about rotomolding, you got to teach me something about a good beer or good music. Because it was difficult to find guys who could teach, but yes, we do learn every day. Everybody's got the same problems, okay? And it's amazing. I spoke to this new guy that we're doing a turnkey operation for. I came home yesterday, and when I left, I said, you know what's nice? People with the right attitude, you can see them sitting, absorbing what you're saying. People with the wrong attitude, they just block out. And you actually want to pack up and leave because you know you're wasting your time. Okay, but when you see that person that's just absorbing and asking the questions, as you know from my presentations and when I do consulting, I say there's no stupid question. There's only the person, the only person who's stupid is the person who doesn't ask the stupid question. Because if you ask the stupid question, you will get an answer, whether it's right or wrong or whatever, but you'll go forward. And so I encourage people to look, get involved, and ask stupid questions. Like I learned that from Einstein. He said he's no better than any of us. He just asked himself a stupid question like a kid would. And I've adopted that in my training and my own life. And ask yourself stupid questions, and you will get answers. Okay, and so yes, everybody should be asking the same stupid questions we did, and because they all got the same stupid problems we had, and there is an answer to it. Yeah.
With what's happening in the world at the moment, with fuel prices increasing rapidly and polymer prices increasing rapidly, do you still think there's a future for rotomolding, and do you see that future being different to what we're doing today?
There will always be a future for rotomolding. Okay. The only thing, the sad thing, I'm sure you'll agree, and I'm sure you encounter it, is the people that when you walk in and you say, so what have you done different today? And they go, and you say, okay, what have you done different this week? And they go, and when you get to what have you done different this year, they say, but why have we always done it this way? Those people, there's no future. They're going to get swallowed up, spat out, and they're going to lose. It's the people that are changing with the times, adjusting, finding solutions. Because every industry's got a problem with fuel. Every industry's got a problem with polymer. Unfortunately, we are huge because we burn fuel to convert a fuel product, and then we use fuel to deliver a massive empty product made from fuel. So we affected badly in big products especially. So I just encourage guys to think, and think. There are solutions. I'm finding solutions for clients. Some of my clients are finding solutions. When a guy says to me, oh, this fuel price, I said, don't worry about it. Everybody's got the same. Even your opposition in injection and blow, they've also got the increase in the polymer. That's not the problem. Okay, so let's go forward. I don't know if I've ever said this anywhere in the world in a presentation, but our local material supplier used to say to client Roto-Molders in South Africa, if we put the price up, we won't even listen to you until Gary tells us we must. Because I used to say, so what's the problem with the price increase? Let's just get better. And he said, Leon Jabez said from Sasol said, you guys must get better. And that's what you got to do. If you get better, it makes you sharpen your pencil. And yeah, I think every industry's got the same problem, Martin. So no, yeah. I don't see it. The only guys are going to lose is the guys that are still doing antiquated, obviously, because every other technology is moving forward. That's more of a threat than fuel prices, etc.
Okay, do you think the scope in our industry to save a lot more fuel, to be better with energy usage, and do you think there's any easy, quick fixes that people could start on tomorrow?
Yes, huge. I do it every time I walk into a factory. Every time I walk into a factory, within a day, I've made huge differences. It's just people don't look. They don't. I don't. Sometimes I actually say they don't care, and they focus so on the polymer price that this is the cost. This is the cost. But time and energy is our other big costs. And I mean, guys will buy a second machine to get more output. Why don't you increase your output? Why don't you put temperature monitoring and process control into place and monitor your energy, cut it, reduce it, optimize it? You don't have to spend money on control rather than another machine that's inefficient. And I think Europe and some places are going to force the guys because they're going to shut these big burning ovens down unless we become more efficient. We have to, as an industry, address the inefficiency of rotomolding. But it's so easy because we are so inefficient. 90% of the world is so inefficient. It's the easiest thing for you and me as consultants to go around and help them become more efficient. Yeah, and yes, we must do it. It's a huge thing we have to address. Excuse me.
Do you think we'll also see more automation coming into the rotomolding industry, both to help with labour shortages in the Western world, but also with profitability elsewhere in the world?
Martin, yes, again. Hopefully we are all moving forward. The robots are here. Okay, I've worked with multiple companies developing robots. I've worked with guys developing electric molds. I'm busy. I just spoke to a guy today. I can't mention where or when because it's all patented. He's just actually putting together his first new machine, new concept, whole completely new concept. The guys I've worked with in Europe, new concepts. I've worked with guys, yeah, all over, as I say, and it's nice to see robots and semi-automatic, and some people claim fully automatic machines. Yes, they are in Italy. They're producing almost fully automatic. We could actually say fully automatic, but it's limited to long runs and because of the equipment and costs. But I think like everything in the world, when a cell phone came out, very few of us could afford it. When a laptop came out, we all thought, wow. The first laptops that came out, the IBM CEO was world famous for saying one day PCs will weigh less than a ton. I mean, now we got these little things in our hand. Okay, so the industry has to move forward and must move forward. and automation is a must in the Western world, in Europe and America. In the other countries like South Africa, not so much, because they want labor, but there's no harm in having the controls and giving the person the control, to do the thing better, more automated. I focus on that when I consult. I see how much easier I don't want to get rid of the operator. I believe you must always have an operator. You take an injection molding machine, it's automatic, injects, does everything, but you still have a person there in case, a setter, he watches, he counts, etc. So I am very comfortable with still always having an operator there, but give him all the tools to make repeatable, good quality parts on time, every time. Yeah, it's a must.
I agree with that again, really.
Yeah.
What we need is more intelligent operators, or operators that have been taught correctly to watch what's happening with the semi-automatic machines, rather than doing heavy lifting and lugging things around and not really thinking about what they're doing.
Exactly. Give the operator time to do his job.
Yeah. In the Western world at the moment, there is obviously a big problem with labor shortage, both in North America, Europe, elsewhere. Is that a problem you see affecting South Africa, or likely to affect South Africa in the future?
If you can order, if you can organize work permits, I'll send you millions, because we have a huge unemployment problem. Unfortunately, we got the reverse. The problem in South Africa is good quality and reliable labor, because some people just feel they owed a job, or they must get given a job, etc. So that is a bit of a problem, in my opinion. But shortage of labor, no, we don't have. And India is one of my favorite places, as you know very well, and I think it's one of your favorite places. They have tons and tons of good engineers that are just sitting around looking for work. So yeah, the world should be looking at places like India and that, and even if it's a contract, you come in for 2 years or so, and then you got to leave. Not that they become a liability to the country, but give them employment, because there are tons and tons of qualified people and amazing people out there that could be employed, including from South Africa. So yeah, now, unfortunately, we don't suffer labor shortage, we suffer unemployment problem. So we have exactly the reverse to you guys. I have to, when guys are funded here in South Africa by any system of funding to start a factory, one of the prerequisites is that they will employ X amount of people. So they do not want fully automated factories, they want employment.
Okay, so how R&D has obviously been very important to you building your business and your consultancy. How do you convince molders that they should be doing their own R&D and trying to innovate and trying to change things every day, which is we've already discussed? How do you convince them that that is worthwhile expenditure?
Martin, look in the mirror. You and myself. What are we doing? We're traveling the world helping people who should have been helping themselves. Okay. We've got jobs because people aren't doing their R&D and innovating and stuff like that. We have the opportunity to travel and try and teach people to move forward. Very few people know this. I think you know it. Roto Solutions was born as an R&D company. Okay, it was in-house R&D company originally. It was never developed because we said we need a company, we need the solutions, we need solutions. So we said, okay, let's form a new little company. We gave it a budget. I headed it up as the technical director of Atlas, and as the production director and technical director, I headed up. But eventually I actually left and I went over the road and had my own offices and everything, because we did so much R&D work and kept us ahead. I think today we can almost claim about 14 to 15 world firsts in Roto-Moulding, things that very few of you know that we did. Some of them we don't tell people because we only tell our clients that we consult to. So you should know, Martin, but not everybody else. A lot of things we did, like stone, granite. We were the first ones in the world with that. Guys came to South Africa from UK to copy me. Anyway, so we developed these things through R&D. It was just it was an absolute driving force of mine to stay ahead. We produced at least one new product, not a new mold, a new product every month. Okay, whether it failed in the long run, whether it led us into new development or new areas, it was just a goal. I had a whole team sitting making molds, CNC machines, computers, SolidWorks designers. I employed 3 designers. I employed 2 engineers. I had a CNC machine full-time running in-house. We had a full-time sheet metal and maker, just being R&D. So yeah, it's, for me, it's what got me to where I am, kept us ahead. And yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer. People should all be trying to innovate, and to be able to innovate, you need to spend some time with R&D, and it'll make you naturally innovate.
Obviously, you travel the world now, influencing people and influencing people in the rotomolding process. Who do you think influenced you the most as an individual?
Oh, you know the answer to that one already. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, Roy Crawford, okay, undoubtedly, okay, because gentleman and a scholar. There's other great people I've met in the industry, no doubt about it. I mean, all the guys at these universities. I'm not going to mention any others because maybe I leave somebody out and insult some. But I've got great friends in this industry globally. I've got thousands of great friends in this world, fortunately. People that respect me highly and I respect them highly. But Roy Crawford undoubtedly was the biggest influence on my life. From the day I saw Rotolog till the day he passed away. He had another product which he developed with Ed Wright, Rotosim, which I tried to buy off them because I didn't have the time to develop my own and I didn't want to go against them. And it's still there, but in my opinion, it isn't being used properly. My dream was to have TempLogger and Rotosim both loaded on the machine so that you could actually bring real-time temperatures into Rotosim, running it, and the operator could actually see his part being molded real time. So yeah, Roy was involved in both those processes. My last visit to him before he passed away was to try and actually get him to agree to sell Rotosim. And yeah, I'd love to develop that. There are other guys bringing out another version of it. Not mentioning names now, but because they're not actually marketing it properly. But Roy Crawford had the biggest influence in the 2 things I really wanted to have on a machine. And just another part is when we brought him out here for theory and to come and do, or when I saw him anywhere in the world, and I listened to him saying something, he'd say something but before tea time, and by lunchtime I'd say to him it works or it doesn't work. And he used to say to me, but what do you mean? Have you ever done it before? I said, no, we tried it just now. I said, you told me at 9 o'clock. So I phoned my staff at 11 o'clock tea break and I said, try it. And he was blown away. And that's why we became such good friends. He'd have things, he'd come and try and talk to us about theoretical things, and we'd put it into practice the same day and try and work on it. And it's amazing how he said to me years ago, Gary, sometimes I say things every year, the same thing, slightly different, and people say amazing. And then next year he says it again, and they say amazing. And he says to them, have you tried it? And they say no. And anyway, that's the theory and the R&D, and yeah. So Roy Crawford, definitely the biggest influence of my life, yeah, in Roto. So sadly, he's gone.
Over the years that you've been in Rotomolding, what would you consider to be your best achievement?
Full temperature controlled machines.
Yeah.
Okay, without a doubt, again, comes back to the same thing over and over and over, because it doesn't matter what product I made. We built our own carousels, okay, and we built our own shuttle machines, and we built our own rock and roll machines. All of them were 3-stage. I'm quite famous for this in presentations, and people argue with me all the time in factories and presentations and workshops. 3 stages: heating, cooling, demolding, nothing else. Okay, because why would you want anything else? The 4th stage or the 5th or the 6th stage just waste money. And if you can't get something in the oven every time, you're not making money. And temperature control taught us how to balance any machine, whether it was a rock and roll, whether it was a carousel, whether it was a shuttle machine, whether it was whatever machine it was, open flame, taught us to understand every kind of machine and push every machine. And I can walk into a factory today with such confidence. When I walk in and I say, I'm going to make a difference in your factory today, and they say, but you haven't even been here. I said, well, I know you don't have a temperature monitoring system, so I'm going to make a difference. So yeah, there's undoubtedly temperature monitoring, and my flagship product, Templogger, helped us do anything and everything we of, and of course I'm very proud of it. Yeah.
Good. And what advice would you give entrepreneurs that are thinking of starting in our industry?
The first thing I say to anybody who wants to come in this industry, have you done your homework? Okay. I did a 1.5 day presentation here at AMSA. I was the only speaker. I said, let me do a full practical workshop. And I took it from, is it a rotomolding part to a finished part? And I tend to try and do this when I'm consulting, because a lot of people are trying to do things in rotomolding that they shouldn't be doing in rotomolding. I could take it next door to the blow mold and get into blow mold it, and I can get on molding other things. There's some things you just shouldn't be rotomolding. So do your homework, make sure it's rotomolded is the best. You don't want to just make parts and make inefficient and bad quality parts in roto and try and compete with a guy who could just be making it. You can go home and sit at home and let him make the money for you if you want. So do your homework, make sure it is a rotomolded product. And then when you have it and it is a rotomolded part, my first advice is, because I encountered all the time, Martin, I'm sure you do as well. Everybody wants the cheapest mold they can get, and it's such a big mistake. Spend time and money upfront on design, that it's right, all the testing you need. And I mean, Jalal Basil was one of the previous speakers. He showed his factory. Bill Spenceley, also a previous speaker or person you interviewed. I was privileged to watch both of them, and they have that same concept. Look at their factories, how much money they spend on upfront on doing something. The money on the mold, the mold, the mold. The mold is what makes the part. You can have the best machine, you can have the best temperature control, you can have everything. But even with all your knowledge and my knowledge, if a guy's got a bad mold or a badly designed mold, we're going to battle. We're going to struggle. So now you got to walk in and turn to change it. So I say to guys, make sure it's rotomolded, then spend all the money you can on design to make sure it's the best design for the most efficient, that you don't have hassles with flow of material, blah, 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 blah. And then make sure it's a damn good mold with the operator, because in our industry, 95 and probably more is still operator dependent. And if you don't give the operator a good tool and he has to battle with it every day, it's not going to give you a good quality part every time. And for me, production in any field, rotor or whatever, is a good quality part on time. So focus on the mold. That's what I say to guys. Then pick the best machine and. Because I can deal with bad machines, but I cannot deal with bad molds and designs. I can't change it. I'm already snookered from the beginning. So that's my advice to guys coming into the field. And then the last thing I say to them, don't come into water tanks. If you're in an area where there's 6 other guys making water tanks, find a market, a new market, because what do you want to come in and just cut prices? You know, so yeah, that's the next step, right?
Yeah.
I think that's enough.
Yeah, your comments on tools is exactly what I tell people. You only pay for the design and the tool once, but if you don't do it, pay every time you turn that tool around, and it costs you more.
And Martin, once you bought a good tool, it saves you money every single time, every cycle. You have a bad tool, it costs you every single cycle. So where's the brain power behind that one? It's there's no brain power.
So we're coming towards the end of our session now, so I just want to ask you one last question. Really, you've obviously traveled the world a lot, and I've met you in all 4 corners of the world at different times. But do you have one particular memory of the rotomolding industry that you treasure? What do you think is your best memory?
Martin, that's a difficult one because I've got so many. But if I just say in the rotomolding industry, it's the friends I've made. I get gooseflesh now saying that to you, and I get emotional because the friends are made in this industry is something unbelievable. And our industry is so special in that way. Okay. I mean, I've been to amazing conferences. I've seen amazing things being done. I'm fortunate, and you, same as you, when we go to countries, we go and experience those countries. As I said earlier, India is probably one of my favorite countries in the world. I just love going there. But it doesn't matter about the country and the machines and the molds and the whatever we see, the technologies, the Roy Crawfords, the Martin Spencers, the Bill Spencleys, the guys, the Garth. I go on, and I've mentioned a few, and I'm not going to mention it. I can't mention them. I could never mention them. The friends that we've made. This industry, we go out, we drink a beer, or I drink a cup of coffee with a guy who doesn't drink, like Danu. He'll have a coffee and he'll bring me a beer, or I'll go and get a beer and bring him a coffee. Doesn't matter. We're different. We're different cultures. We're different religions. We're different people. But we are all great friends. And this industry rocks because of the friendships and conferences we have. That's my greatest memory, and will go down as always.
I've made probably my best friends in life through visiting their factories and their countries and traveling the world. Well, thanks very much, Gary. That's been great. I would like to thank you for a particularly insightful discussion, and we hope that all our participants have learned something today to take away from this session to help them with their business. They should have. Everybody should be able to take something from our discussion that they can make a little difference to their business today. Our next leadership session will be on June the 30th, when I will be in conversation with Ravi Mira. As well as being a leading figure in rotomolding in the USA, Ravi has been instrumental in the formation of the STAR organization and the growth of rotomolding industry in India. So we look forward to welcoming you to that discussion on the 30th of June. Please keep checking the Roto-Moulding network page on LinkedIn for further details of the leadership program and other discussions, and also of our online forum on June the 8th. Thank you very much again for your time today, and we hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, and over to you, Piram.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Gary. Wow, it's a very nice session. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Guys, if you like to watch this session with Gary Lategan, as I think he gave wonderful ideas and suggestions, and please watch this on our YouTube channel and the Techno Base. Okay, so please look at it. And I do encourage you watch again the past episodes of the Jalal and also with Bill Spencley. Also, they're available on YouTube. Please check it out. Okay, and keep following our leadership program. Thank you once again, Gary. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much for being the innovator and bringing us to the rotomolding industry. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all. We see you the next time. Bye bye for now.